Righty, welcome to another exciting end of day show with your host Vamp, and we got the man, the myth, the legend himself, BigChonis in the house. Say what's up to all your fans out there, Big Chon.
Hey, Van, thanks so much for having me tonight. Hello, everybody in the chat room. Thanks for joining us. Exciting times these are, exciting price action in Bitcoin.
Super excited right now. Let's take a look at Chonis. Why don't you break down what your thoughts are right now for us?
Well, let's acknowledge how amazing this whole month has been of July. You know, we bottomed out, back, let me pull them up here. We bottomed out way back, in the end of May there. And at the end of June, basically June 24th was our bottom. And 1 month later, 30 days to the day, we basically had our high in yesterday's candle. So that was a 30-day almost cycle of a nut low to a nut high cycle, in the price of Bitcoin here. And I think a lot of people who, were waiting for that pullback potentially back to 6,800, which was supposed to retest the neckline that, never happened, have been waiting on the sidelines while everyone who's, bought some of the dips and some of the pullbacks along this move over the past week have so far been rewarded by a higher Bitcoin price. So the question we have to ask ourselves now is this current pullback here, is this the pullback that everybody's been waiting for to either jump back in at a lower price, or is this just a pause before we have some more bullish continuation?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's it was funny because we came down at the bottom, and if you remember, you look back on my Twitter, I literally called this thing to almost the dollar. My low on Twitter was 57.50 to 5,800. It came down, landed on 57.76. And then when it took off, listen, even I was skeptical on this bounce right here. When this bounce came down and turned around, right here, just a few days, literally just like days later, less than a week later, this bottom came down so deep, so deep. I was like, is this going? I really have always been looking for kind of 5,400, 5,700, where I was expecting the turnaround. So it did hit the 5,700 target. I was really hoping we get down here to 5,400 and test that. Now, I've got to tell everybody my lows I'm still calling. I have not changed anything yet. Okay, I have not changed any of my outlook for the low here. I'm still looking at a $4,800 to $4,200 bottom, right? And, when you pull up the price action here, we do have our wonderful yellow brick road. So the yellow brick road has been my guideline. So this has been my guideline. Now breaking this yellow brick road right here, the 128 day on the daily, does tell me to go bullish. This does make me bullish. And as I have written numerous times, if you've watched my show, I've said, listen, you've got to hold up here longer than 3 consecutive days, right? Longer than 3 consecutive days. So we've closed a full day over, right? We've done 1 full day over. We just closed out another full day over. And let's see if we can keep this push, keep this trend up here, right? And this looks pretty good. I mean, it looks like there's a great possibility of holding. Now, when I do look at the price action, I do look at our support level right down here. I'm looking for, if this thing were to just kind of just take a big dump right here, I would be looking for the $6,600, $6,700 action for the drop. And we do have a lot of heavy resistance, I think, right here above us. The heavy resistance line is up here, 86, 8,700.
Yeah, is that coinciding with the 200 MA there, the red line there?
It is, yeah. So you've got the 200 MA there. You also go up here, you take a look at the weekly. So you bring your weekly chart up there. There's our weekly 30 MA. See right there? So you got the weekly 30. So this is kind of, you get up here, you're going to run into a brick wall. Now, on this candle that we're closing, so let's take a peek at our daily candle and see if our daily candle gave us any clues. I think we also closed the 3-day candle today and possibly could be starting. Is this starting a brand new candle, or is that ended? I can't tell. It doesn't look like it. Let's see if we started another 2-day candle. Yes. Okay, so we did start a 2-day candle. So let's say if we can pry any clues out of this 2-day candle right here. I'm going to peel this off. Initially looking at this 2-day candle, I mean, maybe quasi shooting starish. It's got a little bit of a tail right here. Not quite enough to be an inverted hammer in my mind. Could still, so if you look back into the past, you see this number 1 up here. This number 1 did have a little, you still had that beautiful shooting star candle that followed it up. Still a huge possibility to get one last push up here. Now, on the 2-day, right? So on the 2-day here, we got this cross right here. This played out nicely, right? Now, this cross between the 50 and the 200 is kind of irrelevant. I don't look at this as a cross to take any faith in or any stock in, but it does act as support, right? So you've got a support level down there. Now, you are going to possibly in the next 2 days have another bullish cross between the 7 and the 50. That would be bullish. I would look at that as a bullish cross. To end out the day here, here using the TD sequential system, I would look at this. Now, I would look at this personally, and I'm going to get your take on this, right? So you see we have the resistance. So you see these little dots up here? So these little dots up here, the little dots down here, this is from the Beast Scalper. So this is from the Until 1 Mil Beast Scalper. What the Until 1 Beast Scalper does, it helps you plot out supports and resistances. So that's what I use. I use these additional indicators to help me determine where my supports and resistances are in accordance to where the price action is. So you see we have created a support, a resistance up here, right, with the 3 little green dots. I'll zoom in for everybody. There you go. You see the 3 little green dots right there? And then you can see the green dots along here in the bottom. This is henceforth going to act as support. Now, looking at this setup here, I look at this as a bearish candle. This is a spinning top candle. And when I look at a spinning top, I say reversal candle and or a signal to a reversal. Go ahead, Chonis. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, yeah, you're on the daily, and we had a 9 there. I don't know if you call that a perfected 9.
It is a perfected 9, yes.
Yeah, okay. So are we looking for that 1 to 3 day either referred to before we basically set the tone for that next trend?
Yeah, and you can see here, we haven't started a new count yet on this. So since we haven't started a new count, I would count this as a green 1 technically. Now, you guys all know how I feel about the bleed outs, right? I feel that these 9s still bleed, so this can still. Now, we didn't see what happened. What happened? We had this crossover down here, both of these crosses. They both played out. Now, let's go up and take a look at this. Here you go. You have a cross on your 128 day, which I do not put any stock into this cross as an effector of the price. I do not use the 128 day to affect the price. You did see the 100 cross the 120 day, 128 day. Now, this historically has only happened like this one other time in history, and that was in a bearish fashion, right? So this crossed with the price action underneath, and there was a bearish action underneath that. So now we are changing what happened in history here. Will this, though, hold up in the sky? Good question. I myself am not in a place right now where I can. The only signal I see is I'm using the bubble charts to make a price call, and I'm using the spinning top candle and the 9 as a potential reversal here. What are your thoughts, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a little tweezerish the way it closed out. I actually put a
little
tweet out
tweezerish.
Last night,
Yep.
Right, about how I won. This was like an hour after the candle closed, and I put out a tweet that basically saying if we've already reached our high of the day, which it turned out we had, that this could put in a nasty, tweezer top looking candle here, and it did. It's not the worst looking candle. we have seen other examples in Bitcoin's past when we basically break out with a really big green candle. We've seen a couple times where it followed up by an equally big red candle where we tend to give it all back. So the fact that we basically held and seem to be flagging still, at least on smaller time frames, you know, that's kind of what we're looking for now. Now, we never really had a big retracement. You know, as we trickled up here to the 8,500s, and even from a volatility standpoint, you know, I only saw a couple circumstances on the hourly, I think, where we had maybe a 3% move, and then just a couple, you know, I think there was one 4-hour candle where we actually had like a 5% move, but you know, relatively stable along the way. So we've been used to this kind of, I'd say, low volatility with an upward trend momentum that so far has not waned. And there's a battle now between, you know, so far buying into the blood has paid off. So right now there's kind of this, you know, dance here between the bulls and the bears to establish if the money flow can be coerced to continue to come in. I think the fact that we haven't had a really big correction is kind of putting that weight still on the market. Still on the market, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. So look. We've got 2,419 points we've ran up from the bottom here of this. We've had absolutely no retracement, no legitimate retracement. Let's say, right from here to here. Now down on this lower
Right.
timeline, we did have this first initial retracement. You've come up now. We've kind of got nothing. This is why I would be looking for I am looking for the support to at least be tested down here. Come down here, test the support, right? And if the support holds, wonderful, right? And we could see a nice bounce off for a possible wave 5 if you're an Elliott guy, you know, and or, you know, I still think these crosses never played out. I have very little hope in these actually playing out any further to give us a run back up here. You know, this is a tough trading spot. This is a very tough trading spot. Now, I am sitting in a couple short positions. I have been. You know, I continue to sit in these short positions and just kind of chill and wait and see how this plays out. I did go into an earlier long position on Tron. That did give me 10% on those 300,000 coins. I did do good on that. I did cash out on some of my Litecoin. But right now I'm kind of in a holding pattern, but I do see this as a bearish play right here with this candle. Now let's break this down. We're going to pull this down. Let's go back to the 2-day. We're just going to always take a look at these higher time. Now here's something that's, you know, this 2-day candle that closed out is quasi shooting star-ish, right? Same supports down here. You see all your MAs. They got your same supports. Let's go over it. Now nope, 3-day candle did not close out. That's not going to help us at all. Let's break this down to the 12-hour candle. See what we got. Now this is a hanging man candle, this is a bullish candle right here. Right, so you do have this green 7 is a bullish candle. You see this came down as a falling wedge. This candle says, hey, this should go back up to me. So if I look at this, I see that this should go back up a little bit here based on that 12-hour candle. All right, I'm going to rip this off. There we go. Now, this is a falling wedge right here. You do have a falling wedge. This did pop back up. So you had a rising wedge, falling wedge, rising wedge again. We're going to look at our resistances on some of the other time frames. The green 7 does not help us up here. So the green 7, I told you guys I do always look for my reversals on 6s. Right? There's just something about the 6s that do give you a pretty good clean reversal. Historically, if you look back on your TD system, you know, this is usually when these reversals occur. All right, let's break it down to the 6-hour candle. All right, so we did hit a imperfected 9 with a quasi hanging man candle. It did fall out. It is creating another rising wedge. You do see that you have support here right above it at 82.47. Let's look at, go back here. Nothing, no support right here. I mean, I don't see any support on any of these timelines other than the 6-hour. Right? Other than the 6-hour timeline. Let's pull this down to the 4-hour chart. 4 hours, Now listen, this candle right here, honestly, last time I got my hand caught in the cookie jar with this candle, it was a bullish candle. All right, last time I saw this candle, it was on Litecoin. Litecoin was moving sideways. We did get this massive candle. It did appear, it looks like a shooting star to me, which would be a reversal candle, but it acted exactly the opposite. So if you go back over to Litecoin, we'll pull up the Litecoin chart a little bit later, you'll see that this did bite my hand right here. This wasn't up. All right, any thought about the, Sean, what do you think about these lower time frames?
Yeah, I've been watching the 4 hour pretty consistently here, and the thing that's really held strong on the 4 hour chart actually has been the RSI. There's a distinct support line that I've been following on the RSI in the 4 hour, and basically it's held strong since about July 12th, and right now it like just is holding on with a slight bounce on it, but it's weaker than the previous time it used to have support. So until this line breaks, which is basically set our entire bullish trend from from sub 7,000 all the way to where we are now, if you've just ridden this support line perfect on the RSI there, everything's been fine, and even we've broken bullish above a couple of my upper support lines a few times there. So this has always been a consistently bullish pattern until this line breaks. I clearly see this in the 4 hours, the bulls having control and having charge here. But I also concur that headwinds are there, just because a lot of the market is going to keep money on the sidelines until it feels it can have that really nice correction. And, until we have more of a pullback that we just have not had yet. And you brought up, your lower support areas there. I keep thinking about how we actually get down there, because every dip seems to be bought up with either a quick scalp trade in play or a in play. So it's been a while since we've seen some of those dump patterns we had seen, back in May when we were kind of finding that bottom area at $5,700. The question is, are we kind of basically slow trickle through the rest of the week and find those supports, break 8,000 and start to test the sevens once again, which frankly we kind of blew through. I mean, granted, we had a lot of history between 72 and $7,600 there. We were there least a solid 4 or 5 days where we were basically setting new little levels of support. There was a lot of scalping. There was some loading on the dips there. But we blew through 8,000 so fast there. So the fact that we're still holding above, is still encouraging. I think a break of 8,000 will start to get some eyeballs into the market. Where are people thinking now sevens is cheap because I feel Bitcoin's on its road to 9,000, or is 7,999 kind of that beginning of a more real correction that we just not have Bitcoin?
Yeah, no, I feel that we are really, so you see, I picked off these couple supports right here. So you see all of this. I mean, look at this massive zone of just, confluence and craziness that occurred back here. You see all the volatility that went on. Now we're coming up and we're trying to relive and break through this historically volatile area. Once again, this kind of does give me my top line price action. If I was to get over here and kind of start lining things up over here, I mean, you can kind of see in this area, up in this area, this is where your MAs are. This is where your support is, your historical support, your historical resistance, I'm sorry. So if we were to take one more run back up at this, I mean, I could see this run coming back up, and these would be my targets, 86, 8,700. As for, breaking lower here, we did have some news on, I think it was 5 of the ETFs that were proposed. They did get punted to September. I still think that there is a huge possibility that the ETFs that are supposed to be announced in August, I feel that they also will get punted down the road to probably the end of the fourth quarter, or get kicked down the road till the beginning of the first quarter of 2019. I still don't see, You know, greed is always a great, greed is always a great motivator, right? So we see that greed is such a good motivator. I feel that even with greed being such a good motivator, you still have to tread lightly. It's one thing if it's a US company based company and you launch an ETF for some crazy harebrained thing, you know,
Mhm.
because you still have the ability to go after someone, right? There's still the ability to go after someone. And I know the CBO has pulled their insurance and they've got insurance and what for and whatnot. But does that still protect the consumer? Does that still protect the CBO? And I would be worried if I was a CBO from a class action lawsuit, you know. And just to give you guys an example, you know, we talk about these insane levels of Bitcoin, right? You know, we talk about you know, we're going to get up here and you know, you're going to get up here and you're going to have Bitcoin, you know, let me just back my chart out, right? So, you know, one day we're saying, hey, Bitcoin's going to be way up here, right? Let's even go higher. Let's even get higher. Let's get up in the 30,000 range, right? So, listen, Bitcoin 30, 50 grand. Here's the point I want to make with everybody, okay? So, let's say Bitcoin gets up here 35K. All right? You've got a hedge fund that's invested in Bitcoin up here at 35K. You know, somebody's in the ETF, some of these hedge funds are in this ETF, or I mean, you know, there's a lot of people that put money in ETFs. It is, you know, it's used by all kinds of different, you know, for investment purposes, right? I just have to warn you that Bitcoin at $35,000, when you do have a very simple price correction, and let's talk 10%. Okay, let's talk a 10% price correction, right? 10 points. There's a 10-point price correction on Bitcoin at 35K, right?
Mhm.
10 point. That's, you know, now listen, losing 10% of your portfolio on an ETF in 6 hours is not funny, especially when you've got, you know, you're going to have people who've got, bona fide legitimate investors who have ponied up 25. I believe the minimum you can get is 25 BTC, right? So let's say you get
Mhm.
in 25 BTC. Let's say you even get into the 25 BTC at 20K, right? So 25 times 20 is, oh my God, what's that? Somebody do the math for me. How many hundreds of thousands of dollars is that? So you've got,
400, 500,000.
is it
That's
500K?
500K, yeah.
Okay, so you got 500K plopped into this thing. The market loses 10 points, right? You're out, you're out, what is that, 50K? No. You're out. So if you had so if it still went up, you still would be positive in Bitcoin at this point, but your portfolio would basically lose 10% in 6 hours. Okay, now just to give people a good idea, okay, in 1 week, and I'm trying to make a point here. Let me just do this. So 1 week, if the market fell, we're just going by percentage only, 42%. So now you got this same investor right here with this 500K, and the market takes a dive for 40%. Okay, so first of all, let me tell you, the guy who can afford to put 400K into an investment also is the same guy who can hire a really, really good legal team to sue the living pants off the CBO for losing him 300 grand minus 300K in, 2 days. Okay?
Well, you had to read the fine print, right?
You have to read the fine print, but listen, lawyers, there's no such thing as fine print with attorneys, right? And you get a class action lawsuit that comes against you, right?
Yeah.
Now listen, this is not the only guy in here. You're going to have billions and billions and billions of dollars you could have one hedge fund or one group in there for $1 billion. Now that's great for Bitcoin. It's great for all of us because we understand the
Mhm.
volatility of the market, right? But for these average Joe, investors who are out playing golf and they're driving around and they got their hot trophy wife, their third hot trophy wife, they're still paying for the first two, right? And they're these guys, to take a hit, for 300K in 2 days, and for a hedge fund to take a hit of a 40% hit from a hedge fund, $1 billion hedge fund, 30,
Mhm.
40%, people jump off buildings for this. Okay, so you got to remember, even when Bitcoin crashed here, you guys saw people. There was some crazy stuff. Do you remember the guy in Japan that went in, or Korea? He went in and like threatened to commit suicide. He was in the exchange. It was crazy. I mean, people do stupid things when they lose a lot of money. So you got to
Yeah,
be
I don't think
really
people
careful. Go ahead.
people really understand, at least, traders, inexperienced traders, even just kind of passive traders, do not really understand the ramifications of a parabolic move and how it can unwind, and how, prices compared to the top of the parabolic move can seem like a great value. Bitcoin 20K, oh wow, and now I can buy it for 8K. That's 50% off the retail price as where it used to be. But you have to understand from a larger standpoint where a $1,000 to a $19,000 move in a year, how that can actually unwind. We've seen it time and time again in stocks throughout history, everything from penny stocks to crypto, and how a lot of this is secular, where a market needs to build and then it gets some juice behind it and then it really starts to take off. And unfortunately, a lot of people tend to buy at the heights of some of these moves here, and they get wrecked. They get slaughtered. They don't understand how quickly these things can flip on a dime. And I think your whole point about volatility and how a major volatile move in Bitcoin could really affect a lot of people, because we've seen how quickly things can change, how FUD can really affect the price, how a lot of the bulls are hanging on this ETF decision, and kind of hope to ride out this continuation of when this meeting is supposed to happen. I think when August 10th, the date of August 10th was kind of out there in the ether of Twitter. People kind of had that assumption, like, oh, this can pump into August, and then the postponement into September, maybe this can pump longer. And now the point that this whole ETF decision is supposed to potentially bring is maybe some sort of stability into the market, and what the SEC could be setting themselves up for, if any kind of a negative decision, could really affect the price of Bitcoin, run up to that point where that decision is made. It's almost like a catch-22, where the government, in trying to add some stability into the market, could make their decision about this such overpowering, and how it's affecting the market enters volatility, and new people that think that Bitcoin has turned the corner and it's on its way up could have a rude awakening, with a shock like a negative ETF answer, or another postponement, or just an overall irrational exuberance in a short amount of time once again, which we've seen happen to Bitcoin in the past, which always seems to be preceded by a rather large, out of the blue correction.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. So, getting back to the price action here, right? I mean, I want to take a look at these two candles that are moving us up on the weekly, right? So we've come up. We still have a couple days left to close out these candles right here. This still has a tail on it, so this doesn't really help me out to say, hey, this is going to be an epic shooting star candle. There's nothing. I have nothing I can go by with the weekly. All I can look at is this, the top moving averages. And I tell everybody this: listen, if you want to play this game and you want to play it smart, your best tool you can have and you can use as a trader is patience. And
Mm-hmm.
if I was a trader, I would sit my butt on the sidelines right now and I would wait. And I would wait for these two moving averages to come together. And depending on what side of the price action that, you know, or you've got two options. You've got the ETF, which is a great trading opportunity because it's actually a fundamental opportunity. So that would be trading opportunity one. And, you know, you can both hedge a long and a short on that day, and you should be able to rip out a bunch of profits. No matter what way it goes, you just set some good stop losses. 50% of your portfolio up, 50% of it down, leverage it at 5%, throw some tight stop losses on it, and one of them is going to take off, and you're going to have a winner. Now, that's a good opportunity. You've also got this cross, which is the second opportunity. Now, depending on what side of the price action is on this cross, you can go ahead and just make an easy play on this, right? And we talked about it. I did a one-on-one call with one of our members today, and this is what we set up. We set up, hey, listen, these are some of the lines we had posted up here too. We said, you know, if the price action is down here, these two MAs come together. Look, this is where you'd set your stop limit, you know, your stop limits. You've got a couple of them here. On the 3-day, let's go over here. Let's take a look at this 3-day one. Look at this beautiful 3-day one right. This is a right there. Look at all the resistance built in right there. Now that coincides with your 50. You've got another one right here. Just a lot of good, you know, you guys, you don't have to be in a hurry, right? Listen, you don't pick your wife in one day, right? You don't pick your wife in one day. You guys, take your time. The best wives are found when you take your time finding a good one, right? I'm not saying you have to go out and look, you don't have to pick through a whole forest of them, right? You don't have to be like Johnny Alt 1, okay? But throwing Johnny under the bus. But you know, take your time. It'll happen. Let it come to you. And this is what I keep preaching to everybody in our members area. Let the good trades develop. And right now, it's tough. You know, you had this good little tweezer action. You had this spinning top on the 12-hour, which is a good reversal candle. It fell out. You now hit. Now this candle is this is a bullish candle to me. Right, this is a bullish candle to me. So, you know, you could see a little more upward action here. You have support, but at the same time, you guys, you're peaking at, you know, you got resistance, and the 4-hour is on resistance, right? And, you know, this is a tough play. This is a tough play, even for some seasoned investors like me. I don't know how Chon feels about this. This is a tough play. I would baby step into this trade if I was you, either looking long and nor short.
Yeah, I mean, I'm leaning towards bearish now, and you know, I will admit I've been more on the bearish tone, you know, through this entire move. I've definitely this move to 8,500. You know, I see a lot of people with their calls to basically how far this can get, and I mean, I honestly cannot recall one that was really shooting for 8,500 as kind of a top, or even 9,000. And that's what's so hard about, you know, Elliott waves and trying to confirm, you know, which wave count is right, because this bullishness is not just because of the chart pattern. It's those FA things like the ETF that continue to drive this. And, you know, stuff like Google searches are up when it comes to Bitcoin searches, and of course with Bitcoin and ETF in the same search. So these are all positive things. Plus with our friends from CNBC constantly pumping everything, you know, these are like one after another very positive crypto factors. Now, I think what a lot of people are also trying to figure out is, how does this Bitcoin move? How is it affecting the altcoins? And are we going to see some sort of a flow into alts once Bitcoin either decides to top off, find some stability, or even contracts a little bit? Are we seeing the Bitcoin dominance, which is up to like 47% now? It's quite amazing how it bottomed at around, I believe, 36% somewhere at the end of April. So we're seeing Big Daddy Bitcoin kind of recapitalize itself and kind of take the lead again. And you're seeing a lot of these altcoins, you know, some are just getting slaughtered, some are being delisted, and other ones are actually proved there could be term value to that. You know, the Coinbase announcement definitely helped prop up coins like Lumen and ADA. ZRX and stuff, and that definitely helped kind of spread some alt love, similar coins. But because we've pumped $2,000 into the price of Bitcoin over the past month, how will that spread out if people decide to take profits, if they feel their long Bitcoin has run out? And do they either convert right to fiat, or do they start to diversify and pick up some of these alts that are, from a charting standpoint, close to risk versus reward, interesting scoop up zones? But not all alts are created equal, and we've seen some really capitulate, and some people, get slaughtered on this move, not understanding how when Bitcoin goes bullish, how much it really sucks out from all the other coins.
Yeah, no, I'm just showing some of the charts on some of the coins we had. Here's my ICX chart. I did call a bounce on this, and we got a bounce. We also had the Dash coin, and I just looked at this and said, wow, that's all I could say. Just, there's nothing you can say about Dash right now. Just, this is just, wow, this is brutal. The Dash coin is just taking a beating, and I don't know where these little dropouts come from.
That was a parabolic move too in Dash. That was one of the big ones, like Monero and Ether, that had thousands% move in its parabolic move. From a USD, we're worth hundreds of dollars, and now you can really see what a kind of a pullback of a parabolic move can truly mean. And for all the hodlers of some of these coins, I mean, this is a clear reality check. I don't care how much you believe in the project or what this specific coin. You taking a 70% hit on any investment just to hold long is never
not a
the
good
right,
strategy.
the prudent thing. It just isn't. It's okay to love a coin and still take profits, especially on a huge move, especially if you're percent on it, and then it's so much, there's a very good chance you'll be able to buy it back at a much cheaper price.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's just, this is just, listen, I go through the same thing, and I have the same love relationship. Me and ICX, we're like a broken couple. Okay. We have had a very volatile relationship. I have lost money every single time I have played ICX. It has just been one of those volatile, it's like dating a dancer. It just, it's great, it's exciting, but it just never turns out well, right? You're gonna, yeah, you're gonna end up with all your clothes cut up in a pile, laying outside of your front yard, and your car keyed, and that's the best you can hope for in that particular relationship. And I feel the same way in this just absolutely brutal relationship with ICX, which I do love so much. So just gonna kind of throw out a couple little possible little. I mean, it's just this coin is. It's just so brutal to play right here.
And that's an interesting example you speak of there, because I think about some of the coins that I was able to play, especially in January, and how much I studied them and how I remember the parabolic moves they have. And you always try and want to, like, nothing better than having a huge winner and then going back for and hitting it again. So it definitely can be frustrating when it seems like every move you make on a certain coin just never seems to play out, and it becomes your white whale sometimes. And as a trader, that's where you really have to show discipline to not force a trade, not be too aggressive, and just allow a good trade setup to come to you. That's kind of the skills that you want to learn, to be in this for the long term.
Yeah, no, I agree. Love. All right, so let's go back over here before we jump into any more alts. Let's take a look at some of our charts that we have up. All right, and see some of the calls we had. So if you guys were watching, we did have the bubble chart. I was actually on live when this happened. So this little line right here swung all the way down. It poked right down here, and then it just rocketed back up. It hit the purple line perfect. We were actually playing this in our members area. Let me bring that up. Let me see here. All right, so here's our members area. So we were watching this. Oh, All right, so you can see I said, so it came down and it came down and look at how close it was. See how high it is up here? Look at how high this is up here. So this went all the way down and it tapped the little purple zone right there and then it bounced right off it. So we were all like, this is some of our other charts that we'll go over those later. And then sure enough, we had the bounce. So this is, some of the stuff we were watching. We were watching this bounce. We were calling this bounce right here. Now, when you're looking at this action, we are coming back up into a bunch of historic resistance. So this is all dump areas. I did create a new chart that I was using. It was right over here. Let me see if this is it. It's this one. There it is. So let me bring this up. So one of the things we were looking at, and I know my bubble charts are sometimes confusing. All right. Let's bring this over. This is 12-hour. So we do have another dump area, right? That's up a little higher right here. So on this particular bubble chart, this came up, this got really, really close to here, then it did roll back down over. So this is one of the charts we were looking at in our members area. This is kind of what we were playing. We were playing this, we were playing all of this section. I know it's a little hard to read. It wasn't this hard earlier. So we were, oh, come on, there we go. So we were playing, this was the chart we were basically using in our members area where we were just trying to call out the supports and the resistances in the local area. We came down, we were looking for a bounce off of the 7-hour down, the 7 MA down here. We did get it. That was also called over here on the bubble chart. It was also called over here if you guys were watching my charts live. So I was charting this out live. So we came down. I had this all written out. If you guys were watching this earlier, I was calling the bottoms and the tops on these candles as we were going live. I was hoping that we could get down here and test the 8K range. I feel that 8K, big solid numbers, always have a nice buy wall at them. So I was really hoping we can get down here and test this 8K number. Instead, the bubble chart stopped us. Literally, it came down here, poked this perfect, gave us a bounce back up. And now we are showing a little bit of this bounce right here. Once again, so let's take a look at this chart over here. So we're going to peel off. Let's get some, all right. So this, now, once again, here's that Litecoin candle I talked about, that we had this same candle on Litecoin, on the daily on Litecoin, and this was a bullish candle. I have learned this through experience now, that this is a bullish candle. Sure enough, it played out like a bullish candle. Same thing here, so it does come up bullish. Now look at this. We are on the 6-hour. We have found our resistance point right at the 82.51. I did have that area lined out perfect. I had 82.53. That line has been sitting there. It did nail that target. So I had 82.47 over here on this chart. 82.53 came up. Look at that. Just poked it perfect. And so this is the resistance now. So this is our resistance line. This has been sitting here for quite a while. I can show it to you guys. Let's go find it over in our members area. Where we have it. There it is. There it is. So it's been there for a long time. See, there's the price action lower. I said this is now resistance, 82.53. So your daddy, who's your daddy? I called this perfect. Thank you. So this has acted like resistance, and that's what this is. This is a really tough little resistance area. To break this resistance, we would be looking for the next resistance zone would be 83.36 to come up here and try to give that a little test. It did try to get up there. Yeah, so. We've got to really be watching the bubble charts, because the bubble charts have been calling these bounces out 100%. I mean, just to the dime. I still have our top line resistance up here, 76. It's the 200 MA. So now we've got the 200, and you can go back to the weekly. So you got your weekly 30, and you've got your 30 MA on your weekly. So we're going to write that up here just to make sure we. So this is the 200 MA on the daily, and then we're going to have the 30 MA on the weekly. right? So we know now where our top line resistance is. If this does come up and take a rocket, we're not going to be surprised. We're not going to be surprised at how far it can run because we already have a good idea how far it can run. I originally said, hey, I was over here. I was looking for a rejection up in this area. I still am looking for a rejection. Now we got a lot of rejection zones right in here. Let's see if the bulls can get up here and the bears can give them a little bit of taste of their own medicine as they have been lately. These damn bubble charts, absolutely freaking amazing, absolutely phenomenal. Now let's take a look at over here. So here was, I know this is a sad day for bulls. This is bad news. If you are a bull, this is bad news right here, right? To break this again would have been a second bullish break. We have not had anything like that in just insanely long time. So now breaking this is still bullish. Just because we broke this and we are going down doesn't mean that we are bearish, okay? This doesn't mean that we are bearish. Getting up this high, you see this down action here was up action on the price. So this hasn't done anything for us. All this going down was just going up. All right, this is the indicators resetting themselves for this next run up. So now we are up top here. We are trying to fall out one more time. Let's look over here. So you see the orange line right here? Okay, so we've got this orange line right here. This orange line is kind of where you got to keep an eye out here, right? So last two times we came to this orange line, we moved across, dropped below it, and then we got a really good fallout from this orange line right here. So this orange line bubble, we're going to go ahead and we're going to throw a nice little bubble over there just so everybody knows. So we're going to throw that right there. So you've got to be careful of these orange bubbles. These orange bubbles are false. Now, they're not dives. In no way is this a dive. This is not calling a bear dump right here. This is not calling a bear dump. This is just calling, sideways action and or just a drop, right? So I expect to come down lower than this, and we could possibly see a run back up to it, okay? It's hard. Once you fall out of this area right here and you start this downward motion, this is kind of, it's hard to play this area down here. It's really hard to play this area. So you got to really watch out because every time, see here, we're way up here, this fell down. I mean, this was a couple 1,000-point fall here before it did rally back up. We've got to be very careful here in this range playing this MACD bubble chart because you start to move down here. You see this. So you start to move down here. Now it is a sideways. All of this down here is a sideways movement and it is bullish. So to continue a trot straight down will actually probably give us a sideways and or a bullish action. All right, and this can happen quickly too. This can happen really, really fast, or it just can take some time. All right, so we gotta really watch out for this. This pretty good little dive here is a good indicator that there is still some bullish action left here, right? And that's why I still have another higher target up here because I see this as still a bullish action. I still am looking for a possible retest of those higher levels that we have over on the other. Now, let me tell you the scary part, right? The scary part is when you get down into these red areas, right? This is not bad up here. This is not bad, right? This is not so bad, but you get down into these red areas. So this is actually a pretty safe zone up here to be playing bullish plays, right? This is now you're going to have some drops here and you got to be careful, right? You can have a pretty good drop right here from this level. But you got to be careful playing this. This is a dangerous game to play. It's a dangerous area to play on the MACD chart, right? It's technically almost a no trade zone. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Litecoin has been kind of my white whale as well. I've done very well on it, and I've been completely thrown off by some of its price action, over the past few weeks. really trending consistently bearish to Bitcoin's movements. Bitcoin is at 8,500. If Litecoin was, you know, lockstep moving with it, Litecoin should be over $100 right now. So we're seeing that bearishness, and there's really two charts with Litecoin I like to look at. Is one is the LTC USD, other one is the LTC BTC, because we're getting close to a 1% valuation to Bitcoin. And we haven't been that low since December, when Bitcoin took off to 20,000. Litecoin kind of chilled out for a while around $100, and then Litecoin within a matter of days took off to $400. So we're once again about to retest on the LTC BTC a basically previous support zone. In terms of the LTE, you know, once again, I see two things. From a bullish standpoint, I clearly see consolidation in the $80 range. Longer we're kind of hugging this $80, the more people are basically establishing new positions, selling positions, doing quick flips. We've seen bearish divergence when Bitcoin sells off, Litecoin sells off more, and then we see Litecoin tend to have quicker percentage point pops that don't last too long, but yield a very nice green percent if you're willing to hold for at least 2 or 3 days. So right now I see from a USD standpoint that we're definitely in some sort of a triangle here of confluence that's starting to get tighter. We are flagging, and basically a break of like 89 into 90 again would kind of basically be breaking out of that area. Now, I've seen examples where you break that kind of resistance area only to kind of, you know, bull trap, fall right back in. I can't imagine Litecoin would have a bullish divergence to Bitcoin if Bitcoin were to correct farther back into the 7,000s. But if Bitcoin keeps running and we start testing 180, 800 Bitcoin, Litecoin ashore will be back over 90. It just kind of feels like Litecoin has shown continued bearishness, and the lack of follow through with Litecoin, even though it's technically kind of thought of as the little brother or kind of a semi relative, just based on the fact of its exposure to Coinbase being only one of the 4 available things to kind of trade there. So, you know, it's two stories. One is telling me the 80s is potentially a loading zone here for a larger move. I'm seeing a bullish stochastics turn up on the weekly. I'm seeing it so far under, you know, Bitcoin has already broken through the middle Bollinger on the weekly chart. Litecoin isn't even close to it. So there's a lot of room for Litecoin to go up and re-break back into the $100 range. It's just still hard for me to see it, just because, like, well, if you don't like it at $87, $90, you're going to start to buy again if it breaks 100. Doesn't feel like it's really found that bottoming area yet. And because it continues to decline like Bitcoin does, I'm seeing it just as a clear, you know, uneventful altcoin, that until there's some specific Litecoin, Charlie Lee puts out some interesting tweet, I don't know. Until you see something like that, I don't see any turnaround other than potentially a bottom at a 1% valuation of Bitcoin. Other than that, it's still hard for me to see, you know, a bullish divergence in the price of Litecoin.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to bring up this 3 white soldiers marching. Let me pull this candle up here. Where are you? Okay, I just saved it, and now, of course, I can't find it. Yeah. All right, there's basically, no, that's not it. Let me hunt this puppy down and find this real quick. Where are you? I just saved you.
The other thing I'll just bring up quickly about Litecoin is I'm curious to see how it responds to the addition to a cheaper product on Coinbase when Coinbase adds its next available token. You know, if Ethereum Classic is the next thing that Coinbase adds, for the first time, you're going to have something cheaper than Litecoin. So almost will have some sort of a sucking sound come out of Litecoin if people that are holding to kind of spread some of that out into the cheaper new coin that Coinbase introduces.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, so here's a little bit of a, so now with the three white soldiers, it looks like it comes up here and does a harami. Now this is a harami, but only, you know, a bearish harami, but you did get this wicked wick out of here. This did fall down. It did rally right back up, right? And so this, now you come right back up to the point. Now this did create a spinning top right here. So you just see you've not really broken up and over it. And this is what I've been looking at. I've set up. We've had the three white soldiers thing up here for quite a while. You know, we've been playing it. So now you know this is, you know, we're kind of looking to break below. So your stop down here is, and I've been saying this is, let's see, it's you're over the $81 range. So the $81 range is what has got to hold right here. Okay, so your $81 range is you got to hold. There's your three white soldiers. You got to be really careful playing this pattern out because this looks like a three white soldiers pattern. This is a trap. This is a bull trap right here. Okay, so if you are playing Litecoin right now, there's your resistance right above you. You've got it at $88.33. You've got another resistance right above you at $87.68. Let's pull this down. Let's run down to the 12-hour here. You did get this nice candle. Now, there's that nice candle again. This is a reverse candle, so you should be able to pull this back up. So here you've got a little bit higher resistance up here to 88.74 on the 12-hour. There's your support. Your support is still coasting down here in this range. Your support is right between $81 and $83. This is where I'd really keep an eye on if this does break down. Now, a break below this $80, you're going to see I still have my lower targets. I still am bearish on Litecoin.
The last time 79 and change was available, it got sucked up and scooped up pretty quickly. So I agree. Another break of $80 will retest that, you know, is Litecoin cheap once again under $80. And you're right, if you don't find that follow through, you know, the supports in the 70s, you know, down to 77, 75, we held 72 and then we held 73 and then we put in a lower 72, I believe, when we actually bottomed out on Litecoin. So you're right, there isn't a tremendous amount of, I'd say, large support in the 70s, and especially if Bitcoin corrects bigly, you know, 7,700, 7,500, then we're starting to talk about can Litecoin hold that 70? And, you know, there'll be an oversold area potentially because I'm still looking for that bearish divergence to continue with Litecoin. So a sell-off on Bitcoin could have a larger one with Litecoin and potentially a quicker bounce with Litecoin when it does actually find that next bottom area. We just haven't seen that kind of capitulation selling where you've been in an oversold area to scoop up something that's in an oversold area. It just hasn't happened in a while.
Yeah, so we do have a lot of bullish candles on the 12-hour and 6-hour. So that was an easy play watching the 12-hour and the 6-hour. So we had lots of bullish candles on the 12-hour and 6-hour. We still, when we did come down here, we had support at 55. I actually hit this perfect. It came down, tested this again, and just couldn't break through it. We did get this spinning top, which is a reversal candle in this red 2. Came right back up into it. This was an easy play, easy turnaround play right there. Then this is a bullish candle. We've talked about this, how Litecoin likes to do this crap to me. It got me last time. It won't get me this time. So let's go over and I'll show you this candle. So this was it right here. So, and if you go, Litecoin makes some crazy candle patterns. There's a point where Litecoin just goes sideways for like ever. I can't remember where it's at, but Litecoin just likes to go sideways. Just likes to drive sideways. Look at all this size. So this is Litecoin. This is the daily chart, right? So look at how vastly different this is from, so we basically from here, crap. All right, I'm going to blind that out. So from here to here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's like 30, it's like a full month. This is a little over a month of pure sideways action, right? And on the daily, you can see that you have not as much support on the bottom. You have a little more resistance popped up on here on top. And I am watching this to, to really get an idea. Let's pull this over down. Let's take a look at our resistance. Okay, yep, once again, you see your 7 is all that's holding you up. You don't ever want to bet on the 7. 7 is down. You did get this reversal candle on the daily. I'd be very careful with that. The 6 hour, the contractors are here to put together the beds. Nobody's stealing the dog. Don't call the cops. Don't worry about me. Gotta love our guard dog. All right. So, all right, there we go. That's my Litecoin view. So let's just wrap this up and just give everybody a quick. Jonas, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, perfect. Let's give everybody just a quick rundown. What's your 2-minute synopsis on the follow through of the rest of the day here, and then we'll take some questions.
Yeah, I mean, this is, as you said, this is kind of a tricky time here to figure out what the next direction is. A lot of the market is waiting for this inevitable correction that so far hasn't happened. I really feel a lot of this bull move is purely based on the ETF speculation that was supposed to happen, the second week of August. That keeps getting pushed into September. There's a question about, can we stretch this bullish pattern, into the fall? Broken through 2 major resistances. The one that was drawn from our bottom at 5,800, retested at 6,500, and then broken out once we basically were breaking out of 7,500. And then a similar resistance that was started at 11.7, retested at 9,999, and then once again broken out of it around $7,800 there. So 2 major breakouts of 2 previous resistances. I like to see a back test when a major historical resistance is basically broken. And for that to happen, I'm still looking for a truer correction if this move has more long-term play. Been scalping, there's lots of quick clips available. If you keep your stop loss tight, you won't get wrecked. I think we have a couple more days to really hold above 8,000 and see how the market reacts if we do break 8,000. If we push higher, I want to see how Bitcoin reacts to the 200 MA on the daily, which is a couple $100 higher than it currently is now. So there's more resistance above than there is really support below. And because of that, I'm still looking for this as a correction pattern. But until red candles stop being bought up, which they currently are, until the longs have their hand slapped, which they haven't yet, the bulls still have control of this market.
All right, perfect. So we're just going to go through kind of what I see here. I'm just going to kind of type it out for everybody. So number 1, I see a bearish. We just had a bearish spinning top. All right, on the daily. Right. Number 2 is the bubble charts. We're going to call it the RSI bubble chart. Is going into resistance. Right. And so it's going back up into the resistance levels. Number 3, we have the price. Price action is into resistance also. What else? Oh, yes. So then we're going to put, so then we still had the perfected 9. And I would say this is 50-50 with this perfected 9 on bleeding, right? I never trust these 9s. I don't like to trust the 9s. You know, I always feel better if I see them bleed a little bit, and then after they bleed, I say, okay, now the correction's over. Now we're going to drop. And that always gives me a much better sense of a turnaround. So, and then the last thing I'm going to look at here is, yes, this is the big one. So the MACD chart, the MACD bubble chart is, it is very, very, this is this is a danger play here, right? Going down is not going down, right? So just because the MACD goes down doesn't mean that the price goes down. Okay, so even the MACD dropping, you don't have to relatively, it is a lagging indicator, so you don't necessarily have to get, this doesn't have to just keep dropping and the price dropping. This can drop and the price can move sideways. All right, and then let's see, I wanted to also take a look over on the, I want to pull this up over here. I want to pull up the 12-hour candles.
I just wanted to
That's right.
two things,
Yep,
if
yep.
I could,
Go ahead.
about, kind of things that are influencing kind of what may happen next. Is one I brought up earlier, just about the 30-day cycle, how we're to the day topped off on our, Bitcoin almost $2,000 move. No, more than that. $2,500 move, more than that, from $5,700 to $8,500. That was a 30-day to the day span. And just the fact from a market cap standpoint, crypto has once again hit 300 billion on the nose. We had bottomed weeks ago, somewhere around 215. So I see the 300 billion as an achievement, but I've also seen in the past when we hit certain achievements that kind of starts to sell off to basically test that. So looking at the market cap of 300 billion, I almost see that potentially as a resistance and not as a continuation. And until, we see more money flow into Bitcoin, I'm going to kind of hold that theory as valid until otherwise. The volume's been impressive. The money flow has also been impressive as well. And I think a lot of what dictates next is to see how the alts interact with a correction in Bitcoin, and if the market cap itself can hold around $300 billion.
All right, perfect. Good. All right, excellent. And I think that gives you a rough idea. I think we're all set there for our Bitcoin to give you a good idea. I hope you're all as confused as we are on where we're going next, because I've got to tell you, I am not in a happy trading place here. Okay, I am definitely not in a happy trading place. The MACD tells me sideways and up. So that's what this tells me. The RSI right here is telling me, yeah, we just got to bounce off. The price action, the candles are telling me go down. We do know where our support is, though. We do know where our resistance is, and so at least we're not going to be surprised here on a run up to where we're headed, and or a drop down to where we could possibly find some support. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take a bunch of questions from everybody, and let's do this. All right.